The corridor was silent except for the faint hum of machines. A long metal hallway stretched ahead, its lights flickering like dying stars. The human worker named Daniel walked slowly, carrying his small repair kit. He was supposed to fix a broken panel near the lower decks of the station, but something felt strange that night. He had worked here for 3 years, yet he had never been allowed this deep inside. The lower decks were restricted. The officers told him these areas were unsafe, filled with old storage rooms and sealed chambers. He never questioned it before, but tonight his orders had brought him here. As he walked, a sound reached his ears. At first, it was so faint that he thought it was just his imagination. A soft cry carried through the air. He froze in, his steps tilting his head, his heart beat faster. "Help, please." The whisper was weak, trembling and full of fear. Daniel looked around quickly. The hallway was empty. His boots echoed against the steel floor as he took a cautious step forward. Then it came again, clearer this time. "Open the door, human." Daniel's chest tightened. His throat went dry. Someone was calling to him, but from where? He glanced at the sealed doors lining the corridor. Each one was locked with heavy bolts and glowing red security lights. The sound came from behind one of them. He moved closer. His fingers brushed against the cold surface of the nearest door. A small window was cut into the metal, but it was too dark to see inside. He leaned closer, pressing his ear to the surface. "Please. Open." The voice was young, fragile, almost breaking. Daniel stumbled back. His mind raced. Who could be locked inside here? This was supposed to be a research station, not a prison, yet the voice begged, like a trapped bird in a cage. He looked around. Nervously, no cameras were visible in this section. That itself was unusual. Normally, every hallway was watched closely, but here, nothing, just silence and shadows. Daniel's hands shook as he touched the control panel beside the door. Of course it was locked. Red lights blinked at him like warning eyes. He typed in his repair access code. The screen flashed back. "Access. Denied." He pulled his hand away quickly. His breath came fast. He was not supposed to be here. If anyone found out he had even touched the panel, it could cost him his job, or worse. But then the voice came again, softer than before. Weak and fading. "They will kill me, don't let them." "Please, human." Daniel felt his knees grow weak. He was no soldier, no hero. He was just a maintenance worker, yet something inside him twisted painfully. He could not just walk away, not when someone was begging for their life. He pressed his forehead against the cold door. "Who are you?" he whispered, though his voice shook. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then, from the other side, the voice answered, I am a prisoner. They took me because of what I am. They will never let me go. You are the first human to hear me." Daniel's stomach turned, his mind filled with questions. What was she? Why was she here? And why was her voice calling him? Human like she was not one herself. He pulled back, staring at the door as if it could burn him. This was far bigger than anything he had expected. He should leave. He should pretend he heard nothing. That was the safe thing to do, but the voice came again, stronger this time. "Don't go, I beg you. If you leave, I will die in this cell." Daniel's fists clenched. His chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. He was caught between fear and compassion. His training told him to follow rules, but his heart told him to listen to that desperate cry. A sudden noise made him jump. Footsteps echoed faintly from above. Security patrols. He had only minutes before they came this way. He looked once more at the door, the glowing red lights, the heavy bolts, and the unseen prisoner inside. He whispered to himself, "What have they locked away down here?" The voice whispered one last time, trembling and breaking like fragile glass. "Open the door, human. Please." Daniel stepped back, his heart pounding. Sweat rolled down his face. He knew this was only the beginning. Something dangerous, something forbidden was hidden behind that door, and now he was a part of it. The locked cell waited, and so did the girl inside. Daniel could not sleep that night. The voice from the locked cell echoed in his head again and again. He tried to push it away, but her desperate words clung to him like shadows. "Open the door, human, please." The sound of it twisted inside him. The next day, instead of going home after his shift, Daniel found his feet carrying him back down to the lower decks. He told himself he was just curious. He only wanted to look, to hear, to understand. But deep down, he knew it was more. Something about that voice had already taken hold of him. The corridor was as silent as before. His footsteps echoed softly. He stood in front of the same sealed door. The air felt colder here, like the walls themselves were keeping secrets. He hesitated, his hand hovering over the control panel. Then he whispered, "Are you still there?" A pause followed. For a moment he thought the girl had been moved or silenced. But then he heard it. A weak, tired breath, and then her voice. "Yes." "You came back, human." Daniel pressed his hand to the door. His heart was pounding. "Who are you?" he asked softly. "Why are you here?" There was a rustle of movement inside, chains clinking faintly against stone and metal. The voice trembled as it spoke. "They call me a subject. They keep me in darkness. They test my blood. They hurt me. My people would never forgive me for being caught, but I did not choose this." Daniel's chest tightened. He could almost see her through the door, not with his eyes, but with his mind. A young figure, broken and chained. "Why?" he whispered. "Why you?" A soft, bitter laugh came from inside, though it was filled with pain. "Because of my blood, human. Because of what grows in it, my DNA. They say it is different. They say it can heal, change, and even create. They fear it, but they also desire it. I am not a person to them. I am a resource." Daniel felt cold shivers run through him. He leaned closer to the small window on the door, squinting into the darkness. Slowly, as his eyes adjusted, he saw faint lines of light, glowing like veins of fire. They moved. No, they pulsed. And then he saw her. She was small, younger than he expected. Her skin glowed faintly with strange patterns, like rivers of blue light under the surface. Her arms were shackled with heavy iron bands. Chains ran to the wall behind. Her face was pale and weak, but her eyes were large and filled with something he could not name. Fear, hope, and sorrow all at once. Daniel stumbled back from the sight. You're not human," he whispered. The words came out before he could stop them. Her eyes lifted to his through the small opening. "No," she said softly, "and because of that, they will never let me go. Please, you are the only human who has ever stopped. Do not leave me like the others." Daniel's hand shook. He glanced around nervously. His mind screamed at him to run, to forget he had seen this. But his heart would not let him. He pressed closer again, lowering his voice. "If I open this door, if I try, they will come after me too. They will kill me. You know that." The girl nodded slowly, chains rattled as she moved. "Yes, human, I know, but I am already dying here. Every day they take my blood, every day I feel weaker. I do not ask you to fight them, I only ask you to open this door. Give me a chance to escape. Please." Daniel swallowed hard. Sweat rolled down his forehead. He thought of his life. Quiet, simple, invisible. He was a nobody. But now he was standing on the edge of something he could not turn away from. "What is your name?" he asked suddenly. His voice cracked. The girl tilted her head. Her glowing patterns dimmed like fading embers. "My name is Lyra," she whispered. "And you are Daniel, yes?" His heart skipped. "How do you know my name?" She gave a faint smile, though it was filled with sadness. "I listen. When the guards speak, when they pass by, they curse your name sometimes. They call you soft, weak, a dreamer. But weakness can also mean kindness. That is why I called for you, human Daniel." Daniel's breath caught in his throat. No one had ever said something like that to him before. The word kindness burned in his chest like fire. He looked at her again, her chains, her fragile arms, her trembling lips, and he knew he could not walk away. The sound of heavy boots echoed in the distance. Daniel jumped. His time was short. He looked through the window one last time. Her eyes were locked on his. "Promise me," she whispered. "Promise me you will not leave me here forever." Daniel's hand pressed flat against the door. His voice shook, but the words came out strong. "I promise, Lyra." The chains rattled faintly as if she tried to move closer. A weak smile touched her lips. For the first time, hope flickered in her glowing eyes. But behind Daniel, the footsteps grew louder. The guards were coming. He had to move. He had to act fast. He turned and hurried down the corridor, his mind racing. He knew what he had seen. He knew what he had promised. And he knew that soon, he would have to make the hardest choice of his life. The girl in chains had given him her name, and now he carried the weight of her fate. Daniel lay awake in his small bunk. The hum of the station surrounded him, but his thoughts were louder every time he closed his eyes. He saw her. Lyra, the girl with glowing veins. Her trembling voice haunted him. "Promise me you will not leave me here forever," he had promised, and the weight of that promise crushed him. He was no soldier, no hero. He was just a maintenance worker. But now, he carried the secret of a prisoner who should not exist. The next day, Daniel pretended to do his usual duties, fixing broken lights and cleaning circuits, but his ears stayed sharp, listening for whispers among the guards. He needed to know more about the girl, about why she was here. At lunch, he sat alone at the corner of the mess hall. He kept his head down, but his eyes scanned the room. 2 guards entered, laughing loudly. They dropped their trays on the table near him and spoke without care. Their voices carried easily. "Another blood draw today," one said. "Nearly drained her, but the doc says the stuff is priceless." The other guard smirked. "Of course, it is. They say 1 drop of her blood can heal wounds that should never heal. Broken bones, disease, even poison. Imagine what an army could do with that kind of power." Daniel froze. His spoon slipped from his hand, clattering against the table. The guards did not notice. They kept talking, their words stabbing into his mind. "Still, she won't last long," the first said, shrugging. "Her body is weak. The experiments are breaking her down. She's nothing but a lab rat now. Once they've taken enough, she'll be gone. Then they'll move on to the next one." The other laughed darkly. "If they can even find another one, her kind are almost extinct. That's why she's so valuable. That girl is the last piece of a dying race." Daniel's chest tightened. His hands curled into fists. They were killing her slowly, treating her like a tool instead of a living being. He pushed his tray aside, no longer able to eat. His promise burned inside him. That evening, he found himself back at the lower decks. His heart pounded as he walked the silent corridor. He pressed his hand against the cold metal door once again. "Lyra," he whispered. "I'm here." A weak sound answered him. Chains rattled inside. "Daniel, you came back?" He pressed closer to the small window. His eyes adjusted until he saw her faint glow in the darkness. She looked weaker than before. Her shoulders slumped, her face pale, her lips cracked. "They took more from you," Daniel said. Anger in his voice. She nodded slowly. "Yes. Every day they take. Every day I feel less alive. They say my blood is power, but it is also my curse. My people call it the thread of life. It connects us to the universe. But here, it only brings me pain." Daniel swallowed hard. "The guards? They said you're the last of your kind, is that true?" Her glowing eyes lifted to his, filled with sorrow. "Almost true. My people were hunted. Our blood was taken, our bodies broken. I escaped with others, but I was captured. I do not know. If any of my kin still live, if I am the last, then when I die, so will the thread." The word struck Daniel like a hammer. He realized the truth. This girl was not just a prisoner. She was the end of a whole species. If she perished here, her people would vanish forever. His voice shook as he whispered, "Why doesn't anyone stop this? Why doesn't anyone tell the world what they're doing here?" Lyra gave a sad, tired smile. "Because secrets are worth more than truth, human. This station is hidden far from eyes that would care. Those who know are paid in silence. Those who resist vanish. You should not even know I exist. Daniel leaned his head against the door, his chest heavy. He was in, too deep already. He could not unsee her, could not unhear her. Why me? He whispered. Why did you call for me? Lyra's chains rattled softly as she tried to move closer. Because I felt it, human. I felt your heart. The guards speak of you as weak. But weakness is kindness in disguise. I knew you would hear me. I knew you would not walk away. Daniel's throat tightened. He wanted to reach through the door to break her chains with his bare hands, but he was helpless. The sound of alarms suddenly echoed faintly above. Red lights flickered down the corridor. Daniel stiffened. He knew security sweeps came at random. If they found him here again, questions would follow. He whispered quickly, I don't know how yet, but I'll find a way to get you out. I promised you, and I'll keep it. Her glowing eyes brightened, with a flicker of hope. Then I will hold on, human Daniel, until that day. Bootsteps echoed from the stairwell, louder, closer. Daniel's heart pounded. He stepped back from the door, forcing himself to look calm. He grabbed his repair kit and bent over a panel, pretending to work. 2 guards marched down the hall, their rifles slung lazily. They barely looked at him as they passed, but their presence was a reminder. This place was crawling with danger. One mistake, one wrong move, and Daniel would share Lyra's fate. When they were gone, Daniel allowed himself one last glance at the door. Her faint glow still shimmered through the window. Fragile but alive, he turned and walked away, his mind burning. He now carried more than a secret. He carried the truth of an entire species hidden in chains, and he knew, sooner or later, he would have to decide, stay silent or risk everything. The secret they hide was now his burden too. Daniel's hands would not stop shaking. Every tool he touched felt heavy. Every step he took echoed too loudly. The weight of his promise to Lyra pressed on him like a mountain. He could no longer walk these corridors as if nothing had changed. He had seen too much, heard too much. At night in his narrow bunk, he imagined her chained in the dark, her glowing veins dimming with every drop they stole. His chest tightened until he could hardly breathe. He knew he could not leave her there, but the thought of defying the station filled him with dread. One evening, while repairing a panel near the officers' quarters, Daniel overheard 2 scientists whispering. Their words slid through the half-open door like knives. The next extraction will be final, one said. Her system is collapsing. She won't survive another drain, but it doesn't matter. Our data is complete. The samples we've collected will serve the council well. Daniel nearly dropped his wrench. His blood ran cold. They were planning to finish her. They were going to take the last of her life and leave her body to rot in that cell. That night, Daniel walked the lower decks again. His steps were quicker, his heart a storm in his chest. He reached the locked cell, pressed his hand against the cold door, and whispered, Lyra, are you awake? A faint glow answered him through the small window. Her voice was weak, trembling like a candle in the wind. Daniel, you came. He swallowed hard. They're going to kill you tomorrow, maybe the day after. I overheard them. They've drained too much already. Her eyes closed, her head dropping against her chains. I know, she whispered. I feel it. My body is fading. I thought I would die without anyone knowing my name, but you gave me hope, human. Daniel pressed his forehead against the door. His pulse thundered in his ears. I can't let them do this. I can't let them take the last of you. Lyra opened her glowing eyes, fragile but steady. If you open this door, Daniel, you will be hunted. They will brand you a traitor. You will lose everything. Are you ready for that? His breath caught. The question pierced through him. He thought of his small life. Quiet shifts, forgotten meals, long nights staring at the ceiling. He had nothing to lose, and yet the fear of betrayal still clung to him. If he failed, they would both die. But then he remembered her voice, the way she called him kind, the way her glowing veins pulsed faintly like starlight. If he turned away now, that light would go out forever. His fists clenched. Yes, Lyra, he whispered. I'm ready. The words tasted like fire. His choice was made. He glanced at the security panel beside the door. His repair access codes would never work. He had already tried. But he was a technician. He knew the system. He knew the shortcuts others ignored. He pulled a small tool from his belt and pried, opened the maintenance plate under the keypad. Sparks flickered as he connected wires. His hands trembled. Inside the cell, Lyra lifted her head, her eyes wide with disbelief. Daniel, what are you doing? Keeping my promise, he muttered. The red lights on the panel flashed. Alarms threatened to scream. Sweat poured down his forehead. He bit his lip and rerouted a circuit. His fingers burned as the wires sparked against. His skin, finally, with a heavy click, the bolts disengaged. The red glow faded to green. The door hissed open. A wave of cold air washed over him, carrying with it the scent of stone, metal, and suffering. Daniel stepped inside. His breath caught in his throat. Lyra was smaller than he had imagined. Her frame thin, her wrists raw from chains, her glowing. Veins dim but still alive, she looked at him as if he were a dream. You opened it, she whispered. Her chains rattled as she tried to move forward, but they held her back. Daniel rushed to her. His hands gripped the cuffs. They were thick, iron-like bands fused with alien tech. He pulled a small cutter from his kit. Sparks danced. As he sliced at the locks, the first shackle snapped, falling heavy against the floor. Then the second, Lyra collapsed into his arms, her body weak. He caught her, holding her close. Her skin was cold, trembling, but her faint glow warmed against him. Her eyes shone with tears. You chose me, she whispered. Daniel's throat burned. I promised, he said. And I don't break promises. But before relief could settle, alarms blared across the facility. Red lights flashed violently. A voice boomed over the intercom. Unauthorized access detected in Section 9. All units respond immediately. Daniel's blood turned to ice. He tightened his grip around Lyra. Her body was fragile, but her heart still beat against his chest. They had only moments before the soldiers swarmed. He lifted her carefully, cradling her against him. Her glow lit his arms like living fire. Her chains clattered behind them as he stepped out into the corridor. The station thundered with alarms. The hunt had begun. For Daniel, there was no turning back. His choice was made. His fate was sealed. And in his arms, the last hope of a dying people clung to life. The station howled with alarms. Red lights pulsed across the steel walls like warning hearts. The voice of the intercom roared again, calling soldiers to Section 9. Daniel's chest felt like it would burst. He held Lyra tightly against him, her faint glow lighting his arms. As he ran, her body was too weak to move on her own. Each step he took carried both their lives. Her head rested against his shoulder, whispering words he could barely hear. Don't stop, Daniel. Please, don't let them take me back. The corridor split into two paths. To the left lay the central decks crawling with guards. To the right, the dark maintenance shafts where he had worked countless times. Daniel chose the shadows. He ducked into the narrow tunnel, sealing the hatch behind them. The sound of boots thundered outside. Soldiers stormed past, shouting orders. Daniel pressed his back against the wall, clutching Lyra close. His breath came in ragged gasps. Sweat dripped down his face. The air in the shaft smelled of dust and oil. Where do we go? Lyra whispered. Her voice was so soft, so fragile, yet steady. Daniel whispered back. There's a cargo bay on the lower side. If we can reach it, there might be a freighter or a small shuttle. But it's far and they'll be hunting us. Her glowing eyes locked onto his. Then we run in shadows, human. We run until the stars take us. Daniel pushed forward, crawling through the shaft. The space was tight. Wires brushed against his arms, and every creak of the metal echoed too loudly. Behind them, muffled voices carried through the walls, soldiers checking every door, every corner. At one junction, Daniel paused, peering through a grate. Below was a patrol, 3 guards scanning the hall with rifles. One spoke into his comm. The prisoner is with a human. Repeat. The asset is compromised. Orders are to kill him on sight and recover her alive. Daniel's stomach twisted. He pressed. a finger to his lips, signaling Lyra to stay silent. She nodded, her trembling hand gripping his shirt. Her glow dimmed as if even her body tried to hide. The guards moved on, and Daniel crawled again. His knees scraped, his back ached. But he didn't stop. Every second mattered. After what felt like hours, they reached another hatch. Daniel eased. It opened just enough to peek. Beyond lay the power conduits, a vast chamber filled with humming machines and deep shadows, perfect for hiding, but dangerous if caught. He dropped down carefully, then helped Lyra through. Her legs barely held her. She stumbled, and he caught her before she fell. "I'm slowing you," she whispered, guilt in her voice. Daniel shook his head. "You're the reason I'm running. Without you, none of this matters." For a moment her eyes softened. Tears glistened in the glow of her veins. She leaned her head against his chest, whispering, "Then I will try to be strong, human Daniel." A shout echoed behind them. Flashlights swept through the conduits. Soldiers had found their trail. Daniel grabbed Lyra's hand and pulled her deeper into the chamber, weaving between towering engines. The hum of power masked their footsteps. They crouched behind a massive generator as beams of light crossed nearby. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. He felt Lyra trembling beside him. Chains still clinked faintly at her ankles, betraying their hiding place. He pressed his hand gently against the chains, stilling. Then the soldiers paused, one muttering, "I heard something." Another shook his head. "Too much noise from the machines, keep moving." Their voices faded as they went deeper into the chamber. Daniel exhaled slowly, his whole body shaking. Lyra looked at him, her lips forming a silent word. "Thank you." They crept out from the shadows, slipping into another maintenance passage. The walls grew narrower, colder. The air smelled of rust and damp metal. Lyra's glow was the only light guiding their path. Suddenly, a heavy clang rang out behind them. A soldier had forced open the hatch, his flashlight beam cut through the dark. "There!" he shouted. Shots rang out, sizzling bolts striking the walls. Daniel pulled Lyra around the corner, his heart pounding like thunder. They sprinted, or rather, he carried her, while stumbling forward as fast as he could. Sparks rained around them as bullets tore through pipes. Steam hissed and filled the corridor, blinding their pursuers for a moment. They ducked into a side shaft, sealing the hatch. Daniel slumped against the wall, his chest heaving. Lyra pressed against him, her small frame shaking. Yet in her glowing eyes he saw determination. "We cannot stop," she whispered. "The shadows are our only shield." He nodded, wiping sweat from his brow. "We'll make it to the cargo bay," he said, though exhaustion tugged at every word. Hours seemed to pass as they crawled and stumbled through the maze of shafts. The alarms never stopped. The soldiers never gave up. Their voices echoed faintly. Behind, always closer than Daniel wanted. Finally, they reached another hatch. Daniel forced it open, and a rush of cold air hit them. Beyond lay the cargo bay, vast and dark, filled with stacked crates, and the faint hum of docked ships. Hope surged in Daniel's chest. But the bay was not empty. Shadows moved between the crates. Armed soldiers were already searching. Their voices carried across the space. "They'll come here eventually. No one escapes this station." Daniel pulled back quickly, sealing the hatch. His chest heaved. He looked at Lyra, her glow reflecting the fear in her eyes. "They're waiting for us," he whispered. Her lips trembled, but she lifted her chin. "Then we must be clever, human. We must move like ghosts, unseen, until the stars are ours." Daniel gripped her hand, feeling the faint warmth of her glow. In that moment, despite the fear, he believed her. They had come too far to give up now. The chase through shadows was not over. It had only begun. The cold air of the cargo bay seeped through the hatch. Daniel leaned against the wall, his breath heavy. His arms ached from carrying Lyra, yet he refused to let her go. The sound of soldiers echoed faintly through the space, their voices sharp, their boots striking the floor like hammers. Lyra rested her head against his chest. Her faint glow lit his uniform with soft blue lines. She whispered weakly, "Daniel, you cannot carry me forever. You need to know the truth before you decide how far you will go." Daniel frowned, his chest rising and falling. "The truth," he whispered back. "What do you mean I already know they're using your blood?" "I know they're killing you slowly." Her glowing eyes opened, locking on his. They shimmered with sorrow and strength all at once. "No, human. You only know part of it. My DNA is not just different. It is a key. My people carry the thread of life, a gift and a curse. It ties us to the stars themselves. It allows us to heal, to adapt, to survive what should destroy us." Daniel blinked, his heart racing. "Heal? You mean like medicine?" Lyra's lips trembled, but she nodded. "Yes, but far more. A single drop of my blood can mend broken bones, close deep wounds, cure diseases that plague entire worlds. With enough of it, entire armies could be made nearly unkillable. That is why they captured me. That is why they call me an asset, not a person." Daniel felt his skin crawl. He thought of the guards. Laughter? The scientist's whispers? He understood now. They were not just experimenting. They were trying to weaponize her, to turn her very life into a tool of war. His voice came out low, angry. "So they'll bleed you dry until nothing is left, and then they'll use your blood to make monsters." Her eyes dimmed. "Yes, that is the fate they chose for me, but Daniel, there is more. My people did not give this gift freely. The thread of life is sacred. It can heal, yes, but it can also destroy. In the wrong hands, it can create plagues instead of cures. It can twist life into weapons. That is why my kind were hunted. That is why so many of us were killed. To keep the thread from falling into darkness." Daniel's chest tightened. He imagined soldiers injected with her blood, unstoppable armies marching across galaxies. He imagined diseases spreading from labs to wipe out entire species. The horror of it pressed down on him like iron chains. Lyra's voice softened. "Do you see now, human? Why I begged you? Why I risked speaking through the door? My life is not only my own. If I die here, they will use what they've taken. If I live, perhaps I can stop them. Perhaps I can carry my people's memory, but I cannot do it alone." Daniel stared at her, the weight of her words sinking into his bones. He had thought saving her was about kindness, about one girl in chains. Now he realized it was about something far greater. An entire galaxy balanced on her fragile shoulders. Bootsteps grew louder in the cargo bay. Flashlights swept across crates. Daniel pulled her closer, whispering urgently, "Then we have to get you out of here, no matter what it takes." Lyra's lips curved into the faintest smile. Her glowing fingers brushed against his cheek. "You would risk everything for me, human Daniel." "Why?" His throat tightened. He could not explain it fully. He only knew that when he looked at her, he saw someone worth saving, someone who had suffered too much already. He whispered, "Because you asked me. Because I promised, and because no one deserves to die for the greed of others." Her eyes softened, shimmering with unshed tears. "Then perhaps the stars were right to guide me to you." Suddenly, voices shouted nearby, "Check those crates. Don't let them slip through." Soldiers moved closer. Daniel's stomach clenched. He glanced around desperately. His eyes landed on a ventilation shaft above, narrow but possible. He shifted Lyra into his arms, whispering, "Hold on." With a grunt, he climbed the stacked crates. His muscles screamed, but adrenaline pushed him higher. He shoved open the grate and slid inside with her, just as flashlights swept over the crates below. They crawled through the vent, the metal groaning beneath them. Lyra's glow lit the path. Her whisper echoed softly, "Daniel, you cannot carry this burden alone. If you take me to freedom, others will hunt you. They will never stop." Daniel gritted his teeth. "Then let them hunt. I won't give you back." Her fingers brushed his arm gently. "You are stronger than you believe, human. Perhaps even stronger than those who chase us." The vent opened into another shaft, from which they could see the faint outline of ships below. Daniel's heart leapt. They were close to escape. But the truth he now carried weighed even heavier. He knew Lyra was not just a girl in chains. She was the last thread of a dying people, the key to hope, or the weapon of destruction. Her DNA was a truth too powerful for anyone to hold, and yet, in that moment, she was simply a trembling girl in his arms, whispering his name as though it was the only thing keeping her alive. Daniel swore to himself then, no matter what secrets the galaxy tried to hide, no matter how many soldiers came, he would protect her. The truth of her DNA would not be their weapon. It would be her choice, and hers alone. The vent shaft rattled as Daniel crawled forward. His arms ached from carrying Lyra, but he did not slow. Below, the cargo bay echoed with shouts and heavy boots. Soldiers searched, their flashlights cutting through the shadows. Daniel's breath came in harsh gasps, but he pressed on. Lyra clung to him weakly, her glow flickering like a fading star, yet her eyes stayed on him, watching with quiet strength. "Daniel," she whispered, "if you leave me here, they might let you live." He shook his head sharply, crawling faster. "Don't say that, I told you. I won't leave you, not now, not ever." The shaft opened above the docking platform. Daniel peered through the grate. Below, a small transport shuttle sat idling. Its engines hummed softly, waiting for its next run. But soldiers surrounded the area, rifles ready. Their eyes scanned every shadow. Daniel's heart pounded. The ship was their only chance. But getting to it meant stepping straight into a nest of guns. Lyra's trembling hand touched his arm. Her voice was soft but steady. "I can help. My blood is weak, but it still carries power. If I focus, I can make them see shadows, illusions. Just long enough for you to run." Daniel stared at her, stunned. "That will kill you. You're too weak already." Her glowing eyes met his, unflinching. "Better I use my gift to live than let them drain me to die. Trust me, Daniel." His throat tightened. He wanted to argue, to protect her from even more pain. But the fire in her eyes silenced him. He nodded slowly. "All right, Lyra. Just hold on to me. Don't let go." She pressed her forehead against his for one fragile moment, whispering, "I will never let go." Then she closed her eyes. Her veins glowed brighter, flooding the shaft with eerie light. Daniel felt a strange pulse move through him like a second heartbeat. Outside, the soldiers shifted uneasily, blinking. Some raised their rifles, but their eyes darted in confusion. "I see something," one guard shouted. "Over there." They ran toward empty crates, chasing shadows that did not exist. Another swore, firing at the wall as if figures were crawling there. The entire squad broke into chaos, shouting at ghosts. Daniel seized the moment. He kicked the grate open, dropped, down silently, and sprinted with Lyra in his arms. Her glow dimmed again, but her illusion still held. Soldiers fired wildly into the shadows, never seeing the human and the alien girl racing toward the shuttle. The ship's hatch loomed ahead. Daniel's legs burned, his chest screamed for air. He slammed his hand against the control panel. The door hissed open. He stumbled inside, laying Lyra gently on the floor. Her breath came shallow. Sweat glistened on her skin. Daniel jumped into the cockpit. His hands flew over the controls. He had worked near shuttles before, fixing wiring and engines. He knew just enough to start one. The engines roared to life. The docking clamps rattled as they released. Shouts erupted outside. Soldiers realized their mistake. "They're on the O. Shuttle, stop them." Gunfire struck the hull. Sparks rained inside, alarms blared. Daniel gritted his teeth. Come on, come on." He pulled the lever. The shuttle jerked, then lifted from the platform. Shots scorched the walls, but the ship surged forward, braking, free from the docking bay. Through the cockpit window, Daniel saw the black sea of stars open before him. His chest swelled with relief, but it lasted only a second. Two sleek security fighters broke off from the station, engines blazing, racing. After them, Daniel cursed under his breath. Of course it wouldn't be that easy, Lyra's weak voice carried from the back. "Daniel, don't let them take me back. If they catch us, promise me you will not let them use me again." He turned his head, his jaw tight. "Don't say that. We're getting out, both of us, together." The fighters closed in, weapons glowing. Daniel's hands gripped the controls. He twisted the shuttle hard, dodging the first volley. The ship rattled violently, alarms shrieking. But he pushed it forward, weaving through debris near the station. The fighters fired again. A bolt seared across their wing. The shuttle spun. Daniel fought the controls, sweat pouring down his face. He gritted his teeth. "Hold together, just hold together." Lyra pulled herself weakly toward the cockpit. Her glow faint but steady. She placed her trembling hand on the console, and suddenly the ship's systems flared brighter. Engines roared with new power. The shuttle surged forward like a beast awakened. Daniel's eyes widened. "What did you—" Her voice was faint but firm. "My DNA is not only in me. It flows through my touch. My gift can heal machines too. Just fly, human." Daniel clenched his jaw and did as she said. The shuttle darted through the debris, twisting and diving. The fighters tried to keep up, but the small craft moved like it had wings of fire. A sudden burst of speed carried them past the fighters, straight into the open stars. Behind them, the station grew smaller, its alarms fading into silence. Daniel finally let out the breath he had been holding. He turned to see Lyra slumped against the console, her glow dim but her eyes alive. "You did it," she whispered, a faint smile on her lips. He shook his head, moving to her side. "No, Lyra, we did it. We're free now." Her glowing hand reached for his. Her fingers trembled as they laced with his. "Then promise me, Daniel. Promise me that as long as we breathe, you will never let them chain me again." He squeezed her hand firmly, his voice steady despite the storm still raging in his chest. "I swear it, I'll protect you no matter what it costs. That's my oath." Her eyes closed, but the smile stayed. For the first time, she allowed herself to rest, safe in his arms. Daniel looked out at the endless stars ahead. He knew the danger was not over. The station would hunt them. The council would send more ships, but for now they had escaped. For now he had kept his promise. And as the shuttle drifted into the void, Daniel whispered to himself, "No chains, no cages, not ever again." The oath was made, and it would bind them both for the rest of their lives.